Здравствуйте, меня зовут Jenny Gage, and today we're going to be talking about President Trump, who by the end of this video, you might agree, should probably be more appropriately called Donald Dushka. And for my regular followers who are wondering, да, я говорю по-русски. Я изучала русский язык в колледже имени Рикса when I was just a young college girl. Being born in 1974, I grew up with the Iron Curtain, with the Soviet Union. And as a Mormon girly, I was totally fascinated by communism because Mormons had been a communist religion to begin with. It was called the Order, or the Law of Consecration. It was the OG communism, invented before, I believe, Karl Marx even wrote his book. Oh, that is a topic for another day. Today we're going to focus on President Trump. And I want to start off with a question for you. How do you know if someone is a good leader? I have a pretty good rule of thumb for democracies like the United States. A good leader is a public servant. They sacrifice to lead for the sake of others, for the sake of positive change, the impact that they will have in building better futures. Their legacy is service, not self. A bad leader is self-serving. They use people like rungs on a ladder, climbing on their backs to reach the top. Every hand they shake, every promise they make is just another stepping stone to their power and their personal legacy. Look at the difference here. Public serving, self-serving. And Donald Trump, he has never served anyone but himself. He should actually change his party motto from MAGA, Make America Great Again, to Make Donald Great. Madug. It doesn't sound as catchy, but it's much more accurate. His so-called personal literary masterpiece, which, by the way, was ghostwritten from beginning to end, The Art of the Deal, is Trump's Mein Kampf. It tells us everything we need to know. He's always trying to get the best deal for Donald Trump, and historically, he leans on the support of a particular group of people to make that happen. Donald Trump is a Trojan horse. America was his leverage, but he tricked us all into thinking he was in it for us. Like we hadn't read his books, although a lot of people haven't. We voted in the ultimate Trojan horse, a horse that may actually have been made in Russia, which raises the question that I can't stop thinking about when I'm trying to fall asleep at night. What if Donald J. Trump isn't just a narcissistic egomaniac? What if he's also a Russian agent? I feel like it's time for a little pravda. Let's dive in. Хорошо? I'm Jenny Gage, and this is Life Take 2. Thanks for watching. I know there's a lot of great stuff out there on YouTube. I appreciate you stopping on my video. I am former MAGA, former Mormon tradwifey, former Christian nationalist, and white supremacist, and now I'm just a woman who's trying to make the world a better place. And today we're going to connect a couple dots. My current favorite hobby is spilling the tea on Donald Trump and his little minions. So here we go. I asked ChatGPT once if Trump could be a Russian agent. And the answer? There's no smoking gun proof of recruitment, but the pattern, the behavior, the benefits, the alignment with Moscow is impossible to ignore. And if you're not worried about this, it's because you just simply haven't been paying attention. Let's walk through the record, shall we? In the 1980s, when I was growing up, Trump visits Moscow, exploring hotel deals. And by all records, Trump's trip to Moscow was paid for by Moscow. He was visiting Moscow with his first wife, Ivana Marie Zelnikova. Remember, when Trump and Ivana visited Moscow, it was still the Soviet Union. Then in the 1990s and 2000s, Russian buyers pour millions into Trump properties. In 2013, Trump hosts Miss Universe in Moscow and tweets, "Do you think Putin will be my new best friend?" 2015 and 2016, while running for the President of the United States of America, Trump is secretly negotiating Trump Tower Moscow. At the same time, Russian operatives hack Democratic emails. WikiLeaks starts dropping them, and Trump publicly begs Russia for help. He literally says, Russia, if you're listening, hold the phone there for just a minute. Before I even go any farther, I feel like if I was an American running to be the president of the Americans and something like that happened to me, I would turn to the FBI or the CIA. There is no scenario in which I feel like I would publicly be sending out that bat signal to Russia. 2017, sworn in, he immediately fires FBI Director James Comey, who was investigating his Russian ties. He holds private meetings with Putin with no U.S. note takers allowed, which is an extraordinarily unusual ask. He even shares classified intel with Russian officials in the Oval Office. 2018, at the Helsinki summit, Trump stands beside Putin and tells the world, President Putin says it's not Russia. I don't see any reason why it would be. Do you think Putin will be my best friend? 2019, the Mueller report confirms sweeping Russian interference and documents 10 plus instances of, more obstruction from Trump. What a shocker. 2020, a bipartisan Senate intelligence report reveals campaign chair Paul Manafort was working with a Russian intelligence officer. You know who else was working with Russians? Jeffrey Epstein. That name might ring a bell for you. He had a Russian buddy named Belyakov, and we have tons of emails and other communication of him back and forth giving financial advice. Anyway, so we have actual reports, the Mueller report, Senate intelligence reports, and others. And while they don't call Trump a literal agent, what they do say is chilling. Trump and his circle posed a grave counterintelligence risk to the United States, and this man is now our president. Let me connect some dots for you. Let's look at this crazy quilt of Trump's behavior, what we do know. And again, no conspiracies, no like, Jenny's just making up crazy stuff. Let's look at what we know. Let's look at the data. Here's something weird. Trump has had 3 wives. 2 out of the 3 are communists. How many non-communist women are in the world? It's notable that Donald J. Trump is not married to a MAGA girly. Like, I'm picturing some cute little Texas honey with her blonde locks and a push-up bra who drives a Ford F-250. He's not married to one of those. No. 2 out of his 3 wives have come from communist countries, have been raised under communist regimes. Some other dots. Flying to Russia for hotel deals while ignoring opportunities across the democratic world. How many countries could he be building hotels in? The world is huge. Why Trump Tower Moscow? His recent rename of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, I know that's not directly like Russian related, but it seems really hostile in a way that Americans typically aren't. Defunding colleges, defunding NPR, the Metropolitan Museum, and the way that he went in and ransacked things and stripped part of our history, the private meetings with Putin, the way he publicly crushes on dictators, on their own, it looks erratic, narcissistic, and unhinged. Reframed as the behavior of a Russian agent, suddenly all the dots connect. Tell me that they don't. And if you look at everything that he's done from his inauguration until today, it's a playbook straight out of the Bolshevik Revolution. Yesterday, Trump said something that to me was a really big tell on the topic of the Epstein victims and their speech from the Capitol. He said this is merely another Democrat hoax, just like Russia, Russia, Russia. Now, I thought that was really weird to lump in there with the Epstein survivors, to put into the Epstein file topic at all. Why was Russia, Russia, Russia in there? That's a really big tell. My ex-husband used to do the same thing. When I accused him of having an affair, he'd scoff, "There's always something with you. I'm having an affair with the neighbor, or I'm picking up hookers." And guess what? The things he protested the loudest and denied the most passionately were actually Reality, the hoax they deny, is usually confession. And look at how Trump treated Ukraine's president, Vladimir Zelensky, when he came to the White House. We saw everyone sitting around mocking this guy, making fun of his shirt. Like, why are you even wearing that? You should be wearing a suit. This man who's been out there on the front lines defending his people and his land needs to stop at Hugo Boss on the way to the White House to meet with Trump. And we all thought that that was weird. But look at President Trump, Donald Dushka, as a Russian agent, and that makes a lot of sense. Who was his audience? He knew that cameras were going to be watching him, and he knew that Russia was going to be watching. And to be clear here, the offense against Ukraine wasn't just slamming Zelensky's wardrobe. Trump was withholding aid, strong-arming him, dangling military support in exchange for political favors. Why? Because weakening Ukraine strengthens Russia. To me, that was the biggest smoking gun yet. And then Epstein. Why would anybody want him murdered? We already know about sex trafficking. The victims can name names, and they're putting together a list. How many sex crimes has Donald Trump already been accused or convicted of? Come on, he's not trying to make himself look like Mother Teresa. And was Jeffrey Epstein really not wanting to be alive anymore? I think that if I was Jeffrey Epstein, I would want to bring down everybody around me. I would want to say my piece in court, and I would hope to get out someday. Ghislaine Maxwell has said herself that she doesn't believe that it was suicide. So why would somebody want Jeffrey Epstein murdered while in federal custody if we already know a lot about the trafficking and if the victims are out there and they can name the names of the traffickers? Because what if there's something that the victims don't know? What if it isn't just about sex? What if the Epstein files contain not only names of predators, but evidence of a web of oligarchs and espionage, Russian billionaires, financial conduits, compromat pipelines that reached straight into America and straight into the Oval Office? And remember, Trump was hosting Russian mafia figures long before he was hosting political rallies. Whenever I talk about the who, what, when, where, I feel like it's important to address the why. What would the motive possibly be? So let me share with you some of the strategic benefits to Russia. If Trump was their Trojan horse, Russia won big. They got a weakened NATO, sanction relief for oligarchs, energy dominance in Europe right now, U.S. democracy destabilized from the inside out, America withdrawing from global hotspots so Russia could move in, and Putin standing taller on the world stage every time Trump praised and supported him. Was Trump a recruited agent? Maybe not. We would have to really dive into conspiracy to make that leap. But was he a Russian asset? Absolutely. And all data supports that, because whether he knew it or not, his actions delivered everything Russia has ever wanted since the dissolution of the Soviet Union. And this brings us back to where you started. How do you know a good leader? A public servant who is crucial for us to have in a government system like the United States of America. Sacrifices for the people. A self-serving leader uses the people. There's this little thing that I say whenever I take my kids out to the woods to go picnicking or hiking. I always say, leave things better than you found them. And we do. If we see somebody else's juice box straw on the ground and that wasn't ours, we'll pick it up. We want to leave the forest better than it was when we got there. That is the hallmark of a good leader. Donald Trump has never been a public servant. Not to his wives, not to his businesses, not to his country, not to his MAGA followers, many of whom deeply needed a leader who would improve their lives. He has always been self-serving. The Art of the Deal was not about America's future. And by the way, get yourself a copy today. He sings the praises of Russia and talks about Russia obsessively in The Art of the Deal. It's right there. The Art of the Deal was Donald Trump's manifesto, his playbook, his blueprint for his Trojan horse strategy. And if we reframe Donald Trump, the Nushka, as a Russian agent, not just a narcissist, not just somebody with dementia, not just an asshole, all the chaos suddenly makes sense. All of the dots connect. Tell me that they don't. The only question is, will you connect them too? Will our American leadership connect them too? And what are we going to do about this? I do have to tell you that scripting this video has terrified me. Posting this video gives me chills. But my great, seven greats granddad, Benjamin Lanier, also did things scared when he rowed a boat across the Potomac by his cousin George Washington's side in a bold act to build a free nation. It's time we take back America. I'll be hanging out in the comments. I'm interested to hear what you have to say on this one.